we're now going to be joined here by Phil Longo, the head coach at Sam Houston State, with us. The Bearcats in a bowl game, their first ever bowl appearance. We've talked about it. We had it with Casey Keeler, the transition of what this program, that school athletic department's done in Huntsville. And Phil Longo joins us on 365 Sports with Paul Craig. I'm David Smoke. Coach, thank you very much. I saw your tweet this morning. At 5 o'clock, you're working out. You are fired up, aren't you?
Well, that's kind of routine for me. I'm an early riser, so I usually get up about 4:30, and I like to hit the heavy bag or lift in the morning and just get that stuff out of the way because the day gets busy. Here, it's kind of hard to hit the heavy bag. There's not one around, so I figured I'd go running in downtown New Orleans. It was a very interesting run at 4:30.
Well, Coach, at 4:30, you are seeing people who are at the end of a night long of bad decisions. So it's really pure comedy,
right.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to lie. There's probably a few times where I need to run a little bit faster than others.
What is it like right now? You've taken over the program. The team is playing tonight. You get a chance to watch them. You obviously had studied them. You know Sam Houston State because of previous relationship when you were there. What is it all like for you right now as you try to figure out the future and what you can do now in the next 2 or 3 weeks or months?
Well, it's exciting. You know, one, I love challenges. I love challenges. And, you know, anybody that's ever been an athlete or a coach, you know, you like the challenge of trying to buck up and be good at something, be better at something than somebody else. And I've experienced that here when this program was at the FCS level. And so we strapped it up and we played a lot of ball games. I think I coached in 45 or 46 games here in just 3 seasons. Felt like NFL. And, you know, so we went to battle with these players, and I had tremendous experiences both on and off the field. I have so many. I've got family in the state. I've got plenty of friends in the state. I got friends I call family now in the state. And I have 23 years of recruiting ties here. Texas has been a primary recruiting state for me for 23 years. And so even when I got here the first time, I had 12, 13, 14 years under my belt of recruiting. I've got so many fantastic relationships with the high school coaches here in the state of Texas. And I have tremendous respect for them because this is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, high school coaches association in the country. And so I feel at home here. And, you know, I have some huge shoes to fill here. You got guys like Ron Randleman and Willie Fritz and Casey Keeler who have all shown that they can do it 3 different ways and be successful. And now I get an opportunity to do it. And I won't lie to you. I have kept an eye at the end of every season on Coach Keeler's movement just to see if this might become an opportunity. And it wouldn't have mattered what year. I would have jumped at the chance to come down here and be their head coach. And so, as I said, I'm honored and I'm elated to be here. It's going to be fun.
Did your first run, I mean, like you had a lot of years of coaching before you got to Sam the first time around, but did that run kind of shoot your career into that next level? Because after that, it was Ole Miss, UNC, and then Wisconsin.
Well, I certainly think, well, and let me say this. We had some really good years on offense, some championships and some wins. But I think Sam Houston at that point in time was probably the most well-known and probably had more exposure than some of the other places. I mean, I didn't even realize this until media said it a few years ago. I have coached at every single level. I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but it's been high school. It's been starting a youth program. It's been Division III, JUCO, Division II, 1AA non-scholarship, 1AA scholarship, FBS, ACC, Big Ten, SEC, and my first job ever, thanks to John Bunning, was with the Philadelphia Eagles. So I've had my foot in every pool, and I just feel like that experience at that time helped me. But Sam Houston was probably the highest exposure team I was a part of, and it really just helped kind of put it on center stage, as to say, maybe put it in the spotlight a little bit. I have been very blessed. So to be able to go to play and to go coach at Ole Miss in North Carolina and Wisconsin and take all those experiences and be able to come back here and plug them into a head coaching position it's been fantastic, and I can't wait to get going.
The first time that, because of the offense, the air raid version of what you run, and we've had Hal Mummy, and of course, God, we missed 2 years ago, about a week ago or so, with Mike Leach, Sonny Dykes, Tony Franklin, among others. But when you first sat down with Mike Leach, did you know then that there was something really special between his ears and what he knew about football?
I did. You know, I'm not a very bright guy, so when I sat with Mike and he was able to present the offense in a way that made a lot of sense to me, I understood it easily, and I felt like at that point I can teach this to players. I can teach this to some players maybe that aren't the smartest guys in the world, and we can be really, really successful. And I left the day that I decided to adopt the system. I left that day and have done nothing but study it and try to make it better and improve it and upgrade it ever since. You know, and then I got to know Cliff Kingsbury, who was on the much more creative side of this air raid world. And I thought studying him and all the things that he did at the time, he was one of the most creative and most creatively successful offensive coordinators that there was. And so I spent a lot of time pestering him and getting to know him and trading ideas with him. And so those two really they were consistent every year motivators for me to continue to develop the offense. I'd say the only real difference from Mike is that I do firmly believe that you have to be able to run the ball as well. And so we're probably a little bit more multiple and a little bit less one-dimensional because we won't try to run it as much as we do throw it. We want both to be efficient. And that's probably the only thing that separates me from Mike philosophically.
Phil Longo, the head coach at Sam Houston State, with us on 365 Sports.
Now that you step in, you've been other places, and now the air raid's kind of everywhere. But here in Texas, I mean, it is what almost, I would say 80% of the high schools use some variation of it. Does that make it easier in the transition for your players to come in and play faster because you're using a system that is pretty much like they grew up playing?
It helps when they have experience that overlaps with what we do. Mm-hmm. One of the big advantages we're going to be a little simpler than some, and so at the end of the day, football is football. 4 verticals is 4 verticals, and power is power. So there were, even at Wisconsin, there was a lot more overlap than people think. It just becomes whether or not philosophically you believe in a certain approach over another. When we got to Sam Houston the first time, they were running a lot of triple option stuff with Willie Fritz, and they were winning ball games and going to national playoffs on a regular basis, and they were really, really good at it. And, we kind of switched gears and opened it up and threw the ball all over the yard, but we still ran the ball considerably just as much at Sam as we did throw it. I think for whatever reason, when you tag those 2 words, air raid, to everything, the assumption is that you just don't run the ball. And with us, that's just not the case.
What were your thoughts? You were at North Carolina with Mack, that he's retired. And, of course, Belichick now the head coach there. What was that like coaching with Mack?
So Mack was much like Casey Keeler. They stepped back and they provided a lot of offensive autonomy, which to me, that's more important than really anything else. I want to make sure I'm in line with the offensive line coach that we have. As a head coach, I want to make sure the strength coach and the defensive coordinator, those people are all in line. But it was a pleasure because the 2 of them were similar in that they would let you coach. Casey never came into the offensive staff room. Mack Brown never came in the offensive staff room. And it allows you just to not have free reign where you're irresponsible. It just allows you to be creative. You didn't have parameters. You didn't have, a guard on anything. You didn't have anybody micromanaging. And it provides you with the flexibility to be creative as long as you're responsible. And, and I think that really allowed us to open things up at both places, and go attack some people. So it's something that I appreciated, and Casey did it, and then Mack also did it. Mack used to say, if I got to come in the offensive room, why the heck did I hire you? And so it makes sense to me. I think I would and I will provide the same latitude and flexibility to my defensive coordinator.
Phil, I know you got to go, and there's a game tonight, and good luck and have fun, and we'll try to have you on again maybe during spring, whatever you all end up doing. But have you already started to piece together your staff? Do you have to wait for other games to end? I know you're not going to give anything away. You can't. And does the way the transfer portal is now make it easier when there's a transition in coaching or more difficult?
Oh, much more difficult. Every day that you don't have a staff in place, there's a danger of losing another player on the roster. Every day that you don't have a staff in place, it's another day that you're not out recruiting guys that are in the portal. Not that I want to do it that way, but that is a necessity at times. And coaches, whether they like it or not, are all forced to utilize it. So it is imperative to get a staff in place, and it is imperative to manage your program through freshman recruiting, high school recruiting, and the portal. And I think it takes the right mix of both. Player development is still vital. And we're going to be a program that's about player development instead of trying to grab one-year guys all the time. But we're also going to go to the portal when we need to fill the loss of a tremendous veteran. And there'll be a mix of both. And, the key is, can you develop a great culture with so many different people coming from so many different walks of life, so many different ages and experience levels? It has become much closer to the NFL model. And we can complain about it, and we can miss the old days, and we can let things pass us by, or we can attack it and embrace it and make it work for us. And that's going to be our approach here today.
Last thing, Sam Houston State was really good when you were there, and then they eventually, with Brian Bell and others, won this national title with Casey Keeler. Now you're back. I know you've only, I don't even know how often you've been on campus yet, but do you already see what the difference is in the commitment they've made to make that transition from even when you were there when they were pretty darn good?
Yeah, I would say two things. One, Brian Bell was before me, and I know Brian. I got to know him pretty good. I was there during Jeremiah Briscoe's time and Casey's. But to answer your other question, I would say that Sam Houston is one of the few former jobs that I have continued to return to the campus to see the people there, and so I've been exposed to the improvements around town, downtown, around the school, on campus, everything that they've done. And then specifically in the athletic world with the football program, I don't know why I have gone back there more, and we have spent more time with some of those people there. It just was a phenomenal experience for us. We've always felt, my family and my wife and I have always felt at home there. And I've had a desire to return if everything fell the right way. And those were a lot of things. Those were a lot of things that had to fall in the right place. They moved to Conference USA. It was a year where I was available. Casey winds up moving on to Temple, and all those things just kind of happened. And now I have the opportunity to come here and lead this program, and I'm fired up about it. I'm impressed with some of the improvements, and I'm also impressed with where the president and the athletic director want to take this program. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge reason why I chose to take the job.
Yeah, Brian was a few years ahead of you. You're right. Then went on to win a state championship in high school at China Springs. Schmid, the quarterback, the year they won the national title. Phil, I actually think you and I a couple of different times sent a direct message about something. I don't know what it was, about football, coaching, whatever, but it's great. Congratulations on what you've accomplished and what you hope to accomplish and most likely will at one heck of a school at Sam Houston State.
It's a great school, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Call me if you need me. I
yes,
appreciate
sir.
the invite.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it. Phil Longo, head coach at Sam Houston State.